Caregiving can sometimes feel like an impossible struggle. Caregivers may be torn between taking care of loved ones and trying to maintain balance in life. The good news is that it doesn't have to be that way. The Caring Generation with host Pamela D. Wilson is here to focus on the conversation of caring. You're not alone. In fact, you're in exactly the right place to share stories and learn tips and resources to help you and your loved ones. So now, please welcome the host of the Caring Generation, Pamela D. Wilson.
I'm Pamela D. Wilson, caregiving expert witness, consultant, and guardian of the Caring Generation. Thank you for joining me for this week's show, episode 238, Caregiving and Family Relationships, the benefits of home care versus nursing homes. I'll talk about how care at home is different than nursing home care for the caregiver and the person who receives care, because it's important to look at these situations from both sides. And while you might think, I know the answer to that, it's so simple. Well, there's a lot more to this than you might imagine. So we're going to discuss three areas: caregiving time and by whom, especially if you consider home care provided by a family member versus a paid caregiver in the home versus the staff at a nursing home who, by the way, according to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, only provide about 3.5 to 4 hours of care a day, leaving the other 20 hours of the day unsupervised, which can be an issue for older people who have a lot of healthcare conditions, those with dementia, and people who can't advocate for themselves. Then we'll talk about two, which is money. Does a parent have money to pay for care? If a parent has money to pay, should they pay a family member or another person, like a caregiver from an agency, even though agencies have limitations around what they can do? Do you even know what those are? And then three, we'll talk about the type and extent of care needed, which can indicate how long a person can stay at home with home care or when they need to go to a nursing home care. And on the topic of nursing home care, if you check out the podcast page for this episode 238 on my website, there is a video there that specifically addresses why elderly parents and others who permanently live in nursing home care benefit from one-on-one care and support not provided by the nursing home staff. To get there, go to PamelaDWilson.com, click on the Media tab, and then the Caring Generation. Scroll down for episode 238. As many of you know, if you are a repeat podcast listener, if you're not, welcome. All of the information I share is based on my 25 years of practical and professional experience as an owner of a home care agency, a care manager, and a power of attorney, guardian, and conservator with legal responsibility for the care of my clients and wards living at home in nursing homes, in assisted living, and memory care. You can learn more about me on my website, PamelaDWilson.com. So let's talk about home care, by who and how much. So time and hours, and the effect of this commitment on the caregiver's life, and then the benefit to the care receiver. So in home care, maybe 10 hours a week, 30 hours a week, or 168 hours a week, which is 24-hour care, 7 days a week. That can be from a family member who lives in the home. Maybe it's a combination of a family caregiver and an agency caregiver, or only agency caregivers. So the question for you is, how do you think the physical and emotional demands of care, 10 hours a week, are different from 40 hours a week and 168 hours a week? If you're a caregiver in these situations, you probably can explain this, but believe it or not, a lot of people have absolutely no idea. So here's an example. The person providing 10 hours of care a week may have a paying job. This may be just a part-time job for them, or a caregiver providing 40 hours of paid care a week. Believe it or not, they may also have a full-time job. And so both of these individuals, who might be considered part-time caregivers, right, because they're not 24/7, they have freedom outside of this caregiving time. Maybe they go to school, have a family, raise children, spend time with their spouse, socialize with friends, have hobbies. But on the other hand, the caregiver, 168 hours a week, may not get any real time off. This person can be a spouse, an adult child, even a friend. And sure, they may take a nap, catch an hour here or there of quiet time, but they may not be able to leave the house without having someone take their place, because it's not safe for the person who needs care to be left alone. Or maybe it's a case where the caregiver has their own health issues or restrictions and they can't even leave the house. Being a 24/7 caregiver, 168 hours every week, week in and week out, year in and year out, can be very isolating because this person trades their entire life to be that caregiver. Some people do this willingly. Other people feel like they don't have a choice. But their doing this allows other family members, if they exist, to go on with their lives and not worry about this person who needs care. So unless there are verbal agreements, written agreements, or parameters in place for this full-time caregiver, 24/7, to have time off or be paid, this can become a situation for that caregiver of poverty, financial poverty, personal poverty, they have no social life, or poverty of their health, where they are having more health problems due to the stress than the person they take care of. This 24/7 caregiver has a lower quality of life because everything they do is for the benefit of the person they care for. They can't go work. They can't get a different job to retain their job skills, get paid through a company, receive health care, retirement benefits, vacation time, see their own families. So this person's long-term career prospects may be permanently damaged or sidetracked. Their health can decline. Their overall wellness can decline. They can become isolated and depressed themselves. And for family members who quit their job to do this, there's really no guarantee that they're going to be able to replace their position or their income when they're ready to go back to work. Look at how quickly things change. I mean, their job may not even exist in 3 or 5 years. They may lose their friends because they don't have time to spend with their friends, and their friends are like going off and doing their own thing. This caregiver's health can decline because maybe they can no longer go out and exercise and even do social activities that made them happy, right? The caregiver's physical and mental health can be very negatively affected. The impact of being a 24-hour caregiver is so different from occasional care, and few people talk about this, few people discuss it, and nobody really understands the difference unless you are that 168-hour caregiver who never gets a break. I get it. I understand it because I used to be in that position. So the downsides of this, though, the caregiver and the person needing care may be confined to the home because it's not easy to get out. So it can be likely that these two are spending too much time together, and it's not good for either of them. that situation can be so isolating if other people don't visit, if family members don't visit, friends don't visit, if there's no outings. And the person who needs help is receiving help with hands-on care. So bathing, dressing, help moving around if they can't get up out of a chair or if they have poor balance. Then they're getting other help with things like, somebody's managing their medications, going to pick them up, putting them in med boxes, talking to doctors about that kind of stuff. But it's important to know that there are limitations and differences between things that family caregivers or friends can do versus a paid caregiver from an agency, a paid agency or a Medicaid agency. So if you don't really understand this, it's important to know there is an article in the blog on my website, and it's called Non-Medical In-Home Care Insights. You can search for it. And it's important to know these differences because there are so many things that a paid caregiver cannot do because of state statutes and company regulations that a family caregiver or a friend can do. And I'll share some of those. Oh, before I forget, please do take a minute when you're finished listening to the podcast to like it, to follow the show, and to post a comment. This will help other people interested in caregiving topics to find the show. And I thank you to the listeners who made the time to do this in the past week. I so appreciate you. Your comments make a difference. So what can non-medical home care employees do and not do? Well, the obvious is supervision or anything that is medically related because they are non-medical caregivers. So in some cases, a care manager or a nurse, which are separate job descriptions, may need to be hired to assist with some of these things if the family caregiver cannot do them. And so these tasks, because non-medical home caregivers cannot do them, are typically called care management tasks. Family members can do care management tasks, but they're higher level. Like I mentioned, it's picking up prescriptions and putting them into medication boxes and making sure that they're given at the right time of day. It can be doing blood sugar readings to manage insulin if somebody doesn't have an insulin pump and a glucose reader. It can also include things like, decisions around home repairs, financial matters that the person who needs care can explain to this care manager type person, and they can do. Now, in some cases, there may be an agent under medical or financial power of attorney or a court-appointed guardian and conservator who can help with these things. So let's look at how the extent of care that is needed is really the deciding factor in determining how long an elderly parent, a person, can receive home care and not move into a nursing home. Most people I know don't want to go to a nursing home. And if they're there, they don't want to be there. I don't know anybody who does. And so if you're trying to put a value on, well, how much would you pay to stay out of a nursing home? That might be hard to value, but really, in some cases, not so much. So here's the thing. When medical care and health care is easily managed at home, this person goes to the doctor, they take their meds, their health is stable, it's not up one day, down the next. They don't have dementia or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis or any type of condition that can change very quickly or that can cause unexpected behaviors. Then a person can stay at home. But when medical care services are needed and a person's seeing a lot of different doctors and specialists and they take a lot of medications and their health changes from day to day, or they have dementia or a cognitive issue and their mood changes from hour to hour, they accept help. They don't want to take their meds. They don't want to bathe. They're having behaviors. That's when transferring care to a nursing home likely has to be considered. And so you might wonder, how much care does a person really get in a nursing home? Well, as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, according to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, which issue all of the standards and procedures for hospitals and nursing homes and other care facilities, a person in a nursing home gets 3.5 to 4 hours a day of nursing and related care. The other 20 hours, this person is pretty much on their own. And this is the reason that nursing home care can be viewed negatively. People go there and receive minimal attention. I've heard people say that nursing homes are like warehouses for old people. They go there to die. So a loved one benefits from nursing home care when they have a lot of health issues that are complicated. Skilled nursing and nursing care, it does offer specialized health and medical care. So access to visiting physicians, wound care, nursing care, a nutritionist or a dietitian, speech, occupational, physical therapy. But nursing homes run on schedules. 9 o'clock may be your loved one's bath time, and if they refuse, then they're off the schedule until the next bathing day. Meals are at certain times. The care is very structured, and it's not flexible because there are only so many staff members who have to take care of a large number of people. So they go from person to person to person. The one-to-one attention in a nursing home it's health related. It's skill related. Bathing, giving medications, taking blood pressures, checking vital signs, physical therapy. And so while nursing home care definitely has benefits for people who need this type of care, it's not home. And it's not home care from a family member or even a paid agency caregiver. In a nursing home, just the presence of a family member can be calming, especially if the person in the nursing home is anxious and they have behaviors and they're worried about their health and they can't sleep nights. The person in the nursing home has large amounts of time with really nothing to do and nobody to talk with. It's not like being at home. And so residents of nursing homes, many of whom have memory loss, may not be able to initiate activities anymore. They can't say, hey, let's play a game of cards. Let's go for a walk. I mean, in some cases, they may be wheelchair bound and they can't even go for a walk and they can't even push their wheelchair by themselves. So activity programming in nursing homes is challenging because the people who live there have a wide range of abilities. Some sleep all day. Others may be awake, but they can't communicate well. Others may be really mentally able, but they have physical issues. And so this is why having a family caregiver or a paid agency caregiver visiting loved ones in nursing homes is a good thing. But sometimes by the time a loved one is in a nursing home or they're even receiving care at home through a Medicaid agency, they've spent all of their money. And I had a caregiver within the past 2 weeks, actually, that commented on the podcast. They admitted that they hadn't listened to all of my episodes, but they assumed that I assumed that everybody has money to pay for care. And that person assumed wrong. Not everybody has money to pay for care. A lot of people have to plan for Medicaid, but they don't realize that they need to plan for Medicaid. So if that's your situation, there are plenty of articles on my website. There are plenty of podcasts here on the topic of Medicaid if you search for them. So I don't want you to think that I believe that only people that have money to pay for care should receive care. I believe everybody should receive care. I believe that if caregivers can be paid, family members, they should. There's a way to make all of this work out if you plan ahead and have strategies to do it. So, as I said, by a point where a loved one has spent all of their money on care outside a nursing home or in a nursing home, and they're on Medicaid or Medi-Cal or whatever your state calls it, It may not be possible for a family caregiver to continue to be paid or to pay a non-medical in-home caregiver. So you got to be creative about who can visit and when. If there are multiple family members, maybe they can take one day a week that they visit. If there is an agent under medical and financial power of attorney, they have a duty to visit and to supervise care and to make sure that care is appropriate. So how do you be creative? Who else can visit your loved ones in a nursing home? Well, do they have friends? Do they go to a church? Are there volunteers at the church who might offer? Are there senior volunteer programs in your county or other programs funded through grants and offered by the local area agency on aging? Believe it or not, there are many volunteer programs, and I know this because I had a client who lived in a small rural town. She needed caregivers because she had dementia. She had no money. There was no care agency. I found volunteers from a church, amazing volunteers from a church, who took turns visiting her every day for 6 months until I could get her moved to a better situation. So sometimes you just have to be creative and think outside of the box and go ask people for help. And if you've never been to a nursing home, go to one. It can be quite shocking to see elderly people sitting in their wheelchairs lined up in front of the nurse's station or in a hallway so that they can be watched because, again, they get 3.5 to 4 hours of one-on-one care a day. Most of these elderly people, unfortunately, are sleeping in their wheelchairs in uncomfortable positions. Nursing homes, as valuable as the medical care is, they're limited on what they can do. And so sometimes people will say, oh, well, nursing home care is expensive. Home care is expensive. Yes, care is expensive. And sometimes people will say, well, nursing home care is less expensive than home care. Well, it depends on whether the home care is 24 hours a day. Because if you're going to compare it, 24 hours a day of care obviously would be way more expensive than 3.5 to 4 hours of care in a nursing home. Those other 20 hours in a nursing home, they leave a lot of time for unexpected things to happen. Falls. Your family member to sit in soiled clothing because nobody's checked them and they can't get to the bathroom by themselves. A plate of food left in front of a person with Parkinson's disease or memory loss that gets cold because this person can't feed themselves without support or reminders. So they end up losing weight. The possibility of skin wounds and pressure ulcers that can get so bad that a person dies from them. Medications being changed without side effects being monitored or family members being told. I had that happen all the time. You know how I would find out? I would find out because the nursing home, who I told had to call me if there was a change in condition, would call and say, oh my gosh, your client had a stroke or they're having heart issues. And my first question would be, well, did somebody change their medication? And in a lot of cases, the answer was yes. And if I would have been asked, I would have said, no, you don't have permission to change their medication because I know that they need it. I've seen what happens when it's changed. So these nursing homes do things because they have positional power and they can without telling family members or a power of attorney or a guardian, and the person in the nursing home gets harmed. When I was a care manager, a power of attorney and a guardian, if it was possible and there were money, I hired caregivers to be with my clients in nursing homes to make sure that the care provided was good and to call me and tell me if anything wasn't going great. Because as you might imagine, a lot can happen in a 20-hour period of time when nursing staff doesn't check in and they don't notice that your husband or wife or parent had a change in their health condition and they're quickly declining. This type of concern, it usually, I don't want to say not always, but usually does not happen in a home care situation. If caregivers are attentive and they know what to look for and they notice signs of a change so that they can call a family member or a doctor or 911. Infections, urinary tract infections, pneumonia, can quickly turn into sepsis or life-ending conditions. And there are so many situations in nursing homes where these conditions aren't noticed in time or proper attention isn't given. I have so many stories I could tell you, and one in particular where one of my clients was extremely congested. I knew she was coming down with pneumonia, and the visiting physician at the nursing home wasn't due for another 2 days. So even though I called the nursing home and I pleaded and I begged, can you not have the visiting physician or somebody else visit? They didn't. So day 2, I had them send my client to the hospital. Hospital sent them back, no diagnosis. Second day, she's worse. I had her sent out again. Coughing up, couldn't breathe, phlegm, yellow, green. Unfortunately, they took her to the same hospital. Again, sent home with no diagnosis, and I'm like, how can this be possible? I know she has pneumonia. The third day, I sent her out again, fortunately this time to a different hospital. But unfortunately, she was diagnosed with pneumonia in both of her lungs that had advanced so far in the previous 2 days because it was ignored by the other hospital that my client died. And so while many nursing home staff think they know better than a family caregiver who has years of history and probably years of maybe caregiving experience with the person in the nursing home, they don't always know best. This is when bad things happen and people die unnecessarily. Getting an older person admitted to the hospital, it can be challenging for a lot of reasons that I talk about in other podcasts and videos. Hospitals don't want to admit older people for certain conditions because they get financially penalized if they come back. You have the CARE Act to thank for that. So regardless, there can be a significant difference in the quality of care in a home between 10, 30, and 24 hours, and in a nursing home with 3.5 to 4 hours of care a day. Admittedly, sometimes a nursing home is the only option because someone has so many medical concerns, or they have dementia, or they're falling all the time. So if you're an older adult, make sure you'll have somebody to advocate for you, or that you can advocate for yourself when your health concerns advance. Think about what you would want for in-home care. Save money for it. Purchase long-term care insurance. All of these considerations are necessary to create a strategy for your health and your care and your well-being in your later years. Whether you want to live at home, go to an assisted living, or whether your health conditions advance and you will live in a nursing home. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I thank you so much for hanging out with me this week on this episode 238. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker with 25 years of experience. My website is PamelaDWilson.com. You can go there for plenty of helpful information. Check out the podcast page for this episode, 238. Go to my website, the media tab. Scroll down to the caring generation. Please do take a minute before you click off, like the show, follow the show. Please do add a comment if you find value in the show. Your participation helps other people find this show, and I truly appreciate your time. So thank you for making time again. If you have ideas for future shows, you can fill out the caregiver survey on my website. Go to PamelaDWilson.com. There's a contact tab there. You can click on the caregiver survey. I look forward to being with all of you again very soon on the next podcast episode, or you can catch me on YouTube. I probably post about 2 to 3 videos a week based on the questions that you ask. God bless you all. Sleep well tonight. Have a fabulous day tomorrow, and enjoy each day until we are here together again.
Tune in each week for The Caring Generation with host Pamela D. Wilson. Come join the conversation and see how Pamela can provide solutions and peace of mind for everyone. Here on Pamela D. Wilson's The Caring Generation.